Okay, so the first question that I'm going to be answering is question number 6, which treats the concept of exotic and local, which is often portrayed as quaint or comic throughout both novels. So here we are opposing Western culture and native culture. So here quaint has perhaps an even negative connotation, and this is almost belittling local culture, and this can be linked as well to the word comic, which highlights to what extent there is this inferiority of perhaps a local culture. So in the one hand, in God of Small Things, British culture is viewed as inherently superior, and this is embodied by Baby Kuchama. So whenever she catches Esther and Rahel speaking in Malayalam, which is their own language, she would make them write out lines. So I will always speak in English 100 times each. This highlights to what extent English is viewed as superior. This English language, this Shakespearean literature, is what is viewed as superior in a society. And this is also perhaps a source of Esther and Rahel's sense of inferiority, that they fear inferiority also in face of Sophie Mull, who, although is even younger than them, they still feel as if she is better than them, as she has an English origin, this English culture, this English baggage. Furthermore, in Heart of Darkness, there is this, once again, belittlement and inferiority of the local culture. So here Marlowe, the younger Marlowe, compares locals to machinery and almost dehumanizes them, and renders them only to black shapes, black shadows of disease. Here he takes away their human characteristics, which conveys Western superiority and indigenous inferiority. So here we can say that younger Marlowe represents his colonialist voice and thus the superiority of Western culture. However, the older Marlowe here voices the opinion of post-colonialism, and the use of I too as part of the great cause of these high and just proceedings highlight to what extent the older Marlowe is almost mocking imperialism, colonialism, and Western culture. Here he renders the whole system almost impotent and ridiculizes it. So we can say that in both novels there is this contrast between exotic and local, so Western and local cultures, and this is shown through the narration, so the double narration, and also perhaps even this voice of innocence throughout the whole of God of Small Things, the experiences of the characters and their evolution. So in the God of Small Things, the innocence which turned into the loss of innocence, and then in Heart of Darkness with the younger and then the older Marlowe representing on the one hand the voice of colonialism and then post-colonialism. The next question that I shall answer is question 14, which talks about the theme of darkness, light, and the human shadow. So darkness represents its inability to see, and would appear that this is light which allows us to see through this darkness and reveals the true horrors and the truth, so that it plays this role of revelation. And this is what conveys this perhaps human shadow, so the darkest side of human nature, allowing us to reflect upon colonialism, making light this colonialist viewpoint perhaps. So first of all, in the Heart of Darkness, of course the theme of darkness is omnipresent already through the title, from the opening scene where Marlowe says this has been one of the darkest places on earth, to the very end of the novel where it ends with Marlowe saying too dark, too dark. So first of all, I think the description of character shows this contrast between dark and light. So the description of the chief accountant, so for Marlowe, he is first of all a source of vision, a miracle. This is the voice of the young and naive Marlowe, whereas the older Marlowe, who perhaps represents as light and who can see the darkness, the truth of colonialism, and voices as post-colonialism, highlights the true darkness and represents his chief accountant as a hairdresser's dummy. So here, whereas in the God of Small Things, darkness remains perhaps more ambiguous. So on the one hand, we have the dark horrors, and this is shown to the voice of innocence, and the voice of innocence is key as it almost amplifies the horror. So here in this novel, Esther and Rahel do not talk about what they don't know, but rather what they do know and what they see, experience, which renders the experience and the description even more powerful. So the use of the phrase "as if shooting mangoes from a basket," describing when Henri was sexually assaulted by a policeman, is almost humorous, this choice of choosing mangoes. However, it increases the darkness and almost the horror of what happened to Amu and this sexist approach of the police. So it's perhaps this this voice of innocence, which is the light that conveys the darkness, and throughout the text, there's perhaps this loss of innocence, and it's perhaps this loss of innocence that will then represent the voice of post-colonialism and it's understanding the truth and the human nature and the darkness of human nature. And at the end, this loss of innocence is represented by then Esteban and Rahel had learned that the world had other ways of breaking men. So here they understand the true darkness, and it's their loss of innocence here that represents post-colonialism and reflects upon the era and the legacy of colonialism. So overall, it appears that narration is key, as we have the double narration, so young Marlowe versus older Marlowe, and then the voice of innocence. So overall, post-colonialist voice is shedding light onto the true darkness and revealing more about perhaps human nature itself.